We go back to the square. I buy some cakes from Peeta's father while they exchange small talk about the weather. No one mentions the ugly tools of torture just in the yard from the front door. The last thing I notice as we leave the square is that I do not recognize even one of the peacekeepers' faces. As the days pass, things go from bad to worse. The mines stay shut for 2 weeks, and by the time half of the district is starving. The number of kids signing up for a tesserae soars. But they often don't receive their grain. Food shortages begin, and even those with money come away from stores empty-handed. When the mines reopen, wages are cut, hours extended, miners sent into blatantly dangerous work sites. The eagerly awaited food promise for parcel day arrives, spoiled and defiled by rodents. The installations in the square see plenty of action as people are dragged in and punished for offenses so long overlooked we've forgotten they're illegal. Gail goes home with no more talk of rebellion between us. But I can't help thinking that everything he sees will only strengthen his resolve to fight back. The hardships in the mines, the tortured bodies in the square, the hunger on faces of his family. Rory is signed up for the tesserae, something Gail couldn't even speak about. But it's still not enough, with the inconsistent availability and the ever-increasing price of food. The only bright spot is I get Hamish to hire Hazel as a housekeeper, resulting in some extra money for her and the greatly increasing Hamish's standard of living. It's weird going into his house, finding it fresh and clean, food warming on the stove. He hardly notices because he's fighting a whole different battle. Pete and I try to ration out what white liquor we had, but it's almost run out. And the last time I saw Ripper, she was in the stocks. I feel like a pariah when I walk through the streets. Everybody avoids me in public now. But there's no shortage of company at home. A steady supply of ill and injured is deposited in our kitchen before my mother, who has long since stopped charging for her services. Her stocks of remedy are running so low, though, that soon all she'll have to treat patients with is snow. The woods, of course, are forbidden. Absolutely. No questions. Even Gail does not challenge this now. But one morning, I do. It isn't the house full of sick and dying, the bleeding backs, the gaunt children, the marching boots, or the omnipresent misery that drives me under the fence. It's the arrival of a crate of wedding dresses one night, with a note from Effie saying, President Snow approved these himself. The wedding? Is he really planning on going through with it? What in his twisted brain will that achieve? Is it for the benefit of those in the capital? A wedding was promised, a wedding will be given. And then he'll kill us? As a lesson to the districts? I don't know. I can't make sense of it. I toss and turn in bed until I can't stand it anymore. I have to get out of here, at least for a few hours. My hands dig around in my closet until I find an insulated winter gear Cinna made for me for recreational use on the Victory Tour. Waterproof boots, a snowsuit that covers me head to toe, thermal gloves. I love my old hunting stuff, but the trek I have in mind today is more suited to the high-tech clothing. I tiptoe down the stairs. Load my game bag with food. and sneak out of the house. Sleeking along the side streets and back alleys, I make my way to the weak spot in the fence, closest to Roba's house, the butcher. Since many workers cross this way to get to the mines, the snow's pockmarked with footprints. Mine will not be noticed. With all his security upgrades, Thread has paid little attention to the fence. Perhaps feeling harsh weather and wild animals are enough to keep everyone inside. Even so, once I'm under the chain link, I will cover my tracks until the trees can conceal me. Dawn is just breaking as I retrieve a set of bow and arrows and begin a forced path through the drifted snow into the woods. I am determined for some reason to get to the lake. Maybe to say goodbye to the place, to my father, and happy times we spent there, because I know I'll never probably return. Maybe just so I can draw a complete breath again. Part of me doesn't really care if they catch me, if I can see it one more time. The trip takes twice as long as usual. Cinna's clothes hold in the heat all right. I arrived soaked with sweat under the snowsuit, where my face is numb with cold. The glare of the winter sun off the snow has played games with my vision. I am so exhausted and wrapped up in my own hopeless thoughts, I don't notice the signs. The thin stream of smoke from the chimney, the indentations of recent footprints, the smell of steaming pine needles. I am literally a few yards from the door of the cement house when I pull up short. That's not because of the smoke or the prints or the smell. It's because of the unmistakable click of a weapon behind me. Second nature, instinct. I turn, drawing back the arrow, although I already know the odds are not in my favor. I see a white peacekeeper uniform, a pointed chin, a light brown iris where my arrow will find a home. But the weapon is dropping to the ground. An unarmed woman is holding something out in her gloved hand. "Stop!" she cries. I waver, unable to process this turn in events. Perhaps they have orders to bring me in alive so they can torture me into incriminating every person I know. Yeah, good luck with that, I think. My fingers have all but decided to release the arrow when I see the object in the glove. It's a small, white circle of flat bread. More of a cracker, really. Gray and soggy around the edges, but an image clearly stabbed in the center of it. It's my mockingjay.